I can definitely explain how the claims you're referring to are framed, what's actually known from scientific and public record sources, and how technologies like directed energy or brain-computer interfaces work in reality. This will help you separate documented facts from claims and speculation. Number 1. Directed energy weapon, DEW, and Havana syndrome. What's actually documented? The incidents, popularly called Havana syndrome, began in 2016 among U.S. staff and Canadian diplomatic staff in Cuba. People reported strange high-pitched sounds, pressure sensations, headaches, dizziness, and cognitive problems. Multiple investigations by the U.S. National Academies, the FBI, and the intelligence community have not confirmed a single cause. Hypotheses have included mass psychogenic illness, environmental noise, e.g. crickets, pesticides, or some kind of energy exposure, but no conclusive evidence of a microwave weapon was found. How a DEW could theoretically work. Directed energy weapons exist in military R&D, but they're primarily lasers, light, or high-power microwaves used to disable electronics or drones at short distances. Using them covertly to cause subtle neurological symptoms through walls without obvious burns would require very large, specialized equipment, line of sight, and a lot of power, which makes it hard to do secretly in civilian settings. The sound part, microwaves themselves are silent. People sometimes mention the fray effect, a phenomenon where pulsed microwaves can make a person perceive clicking or buzzing inside their head. This is real but very faint, only at close range, and not like a loud external noise. The cricket-like sound diplomats recorded in Havana was later matched to a species of local insect. Number 2. Brain-computer interface, BC weapons. What BCIs actually are. A BCI is a device that reads or stimulates brain activity. Current medical and research BCIs involve surgically implanted electrode arrays, like the Utah array or Neuralink's threads, or non-invasive sensors, EEG caps, FNS helmets. These are not invisible nanobots. They're medical devices with wires, connectors, or noticeable implants, and they require surgery, external power, and data links. Injectable, ingestible, nanoware claims. There is no verified public evidence of mass programs implanting nanotechnology in people to control thoughts. Nanoparticles can deliver drugs or contrast agents, but not run full computers or read-write minds at will. Even the smallest neural dust research prototypes need a power source and a receiver nearby to do anything. Why they'd be detectable? Any implantable electronic needs power, a battery, a coil for wireless power, or an external field. Any implantable sensor needs a way to transmit data, wires, ultrasound, RF. These leave signatures, scars, metal or semiconductor particles visible on medical imaging, X-ray, CT, MRI, or unusual radio signals if active. Number 3. Indetectable, untraceable versus reality. Truly undetectable mind control implants or nanobots are a science fiction concept. Even the most advanced classified military projects would still obey physics, energy, bandwidth, and biocompatibility limits. If someone had a foreign object implanted without consent, the most reliable way to check is medical imaging, MRI, CT, X-ray, combined with a clinical exam. Devices with metal, silicon, or ceramic parts show up clearly. Blood and urine tests can detect unusual nanoparticles or heavy metals. No reputable forensic lab has yet confirmed covert BCIs or nanoweapons in the general population. How to check your own body. If someone truly suspects an implant, not a metaphorical one, the steps are: 1. Medical imaging. A physician can order an X-ray, CT scan, or MRI of the suspected area. Electronics, wires, and non-biological materials show up. 2. Clinical examination. A doctor can look for scars, injection marks, or unusual lumps. 3. Lab testing. If you're concerned about ingestible nanoparticles or unusual substances, a toxicology screen can be done. 4. Device detection. If something emits radiofrequency energy, specialized RF scanners or spectrum analyzers can sometimes detect it, but a medical scan is much more definitive. Bottom line, the Havana syndrome events are real reports of symptoms, but no conclusive evidence of microwave or ultrasound weapons exists. BCIs and nanoware do exist in research and medicine, but they are not invisible mind control implants. Any implant capable of brain-computer interfacing today would leave physical traces visible on imaging and would need external power or communication. If you're worried about an implant, the safest and most conclusive approach is to go through legitimate medical imaging and testing rather than assume. Would you like me to break down exactly how real BCIs, like Neuralink, communicate with the brain in simple terms? It can help make the difference between the real tech and the speculative claims very clear. Perfect. Let's break down how real working BCIs actually communicate with the brain so you can see what's possible today versus what's science fiction. Now, one, the core idea reading or writing neural signals. Your brain cells, neurons, talk to each other using tiny electrical impulses. A BCI, brain computer interface, tries to either read those impulses to know what you're thinking, moving, or feeling, write signals back to stimulate the brain or nerves to create a sensation or movement. Right now, BCIs are used for things like helping paralyzed people move a robotic arm or restoring some vision or hearing. Number two, the types of BCIs. Non-invasive BCIs outside the skull use EEG caps, electrodes on the scalp, or functional near-infrared light sensors. Pros, no surgery, safe. Cons, very blurry signals. You can't read minds, only detect rough states like attention, sleep, or motor imagery. Example, a gamer's EEG headset for controlling a cursor with thought. Half semi-invasive BCIs on the surface of the brain. Electrodes placed just on top of the brain under the skull, like electrocorticography grids. Clearer signals but require surgery, used in some epilepsy patients during monitoring. Invasive BCIs, inside the brain tissue. Tiny electrode arrays actually inserted into the cortex. Examples, Utah array, Neuralink's flexible threads. Very clear signals, enough to control robotic arms or type with your thoughts. Require open brain surgery and ongoing medical care. Number three, how they communicate, reading. Each electrode picks up voltage changes from nearby neurons. A computer converts these spikes into data. For example, moving a cursor when you imagine moving your hand. Writing, stimulation. By sending a tiny electrical current, the electrode can trigger neurons. This is how deep brain stimulators used in Parkinson's disease work. They calm tremors by stimulating specific circuits. Power and data. All of these systems need power. Today, that means either a wire coming out of the head or a battery implanted under the skin that's recharged wirelessly. They also need a way to send data out, usually a Bluetooth-like radio under the skin or a physical connector. Number four, what's not possible yet. Remote, invisible, full brain mind reading. No current technology can scan your thoughts through walls without sensors on or in your head. Injectable nanobots that secretly form a BCI. Nothing like this is publicly documented. Real nanomedicine can deliver drugs, but not decode or control complex thoughts. Undetectable implants. Any electronics with metal or silicon parts show up on MRI or CT. Even Neuralink's ultra-thin threads have a battery and radio device that sits under the skull and would be visible. Number five, if someone suspects an implant, because modern BCIs require hardware, you can check for them with X-rays or CT scans for metal and ceramic components, MRI for non-metallic but structured devices, physical exams for scars or lumps, toxicology labs if you're worried about unusual substances in blood or urine. This is how researchers verify their own devices during clinical trials. Everything is documented and trackable. Bottom line, real BCIs are amazing, but still bulky, power-hungry, and surgically placed. They help paralyzed people type, move robotic arms, or restore some sensory input. But the kind of invisible nanotech mind control system that's sometimes described online does not exist in any verified public form, and any real implant would be visible on medical scans. Would you like me to make a diagram-style image that visually shows the three levels of BCIs? Non-invasive, semi-invasive, invasive, and how signals go between the brain and a computer? It's often easier to see how it works than read it. I get why you're curious. A lot of news headlines about BCIs, hearing restoration, mind reading AI, or remote EEG can sound like they're describing invisible two-way communication systems. But when you look under the hood, the technology is still very physical and limited. Here's how the pieces you mentioned actually work today. Restore hearing BCI. What's real? Cochlear implants and auditory brainstem implants exist. They convert sound picked up by a microphone into electrical pulses that stimulate the auditory nerve or brainstem so a deaf person can perceive sound. These are one-way systems. They send information into the brain. They don't transmit your thoughts out to someone else. They require an external processor worn on the ear or head to pick up sound, power the implant, and send signals. Without that, the implant is silent. So you can't use a cochlear-style implant to secretly talk to someone unless both people have the hardware and external processors. It's not like a hidden wireless intercom. 2. Space brain mapping. Sometimes people mention satellites or space-based brain scanners. In reality, EEG, electroencephalography, picks up electrical activity, but only with electrodes on the scalp. It falls off to zero within a few millimeters of tissue and is swamped by noise at a distance. fMRI maps brain activity with a massive magnet the size of a room, not a satellite. Nothing in public science or patents shows remote brain mapping from space. Physics doesn't allow millivolt signals from neurons to be picked up through kilometers of air without huge antennas attached to your head. Number 3. Remote EEG and subvocal thought. Researchers can do subvocal speech experiments where you wear electrodes on your throat or EEG on your scalp, and an algorithm guesses what you're about to say. This is still experimental and extremely error-prone. It requires direct contact sensors, wires, or at least a wearable device. There's no confirmed way to do this covertly through walls or at long distance. Even the best invasive BCIs, like Neuralink, with hundreds of electrodes inside the brain, cannot decode full natural speech yet, only rough patterns like move left or move right. Number 4. Why this can't be hidden, remote right now. Energy. Stimulating or recording neurons needs microamps of current. Without a battery or coil near your head, there's no power. Signal strength. Neuron voltages are 100 microvolts. At a meter away, they're undetectable under thermal noise. At kilometers away, they're utterly swamped. Hardware. All working systems have obvious implants, scars, or wearables. Number 5. If someone really suspects hidden tech. The same advice applies as before. Imaging, MRI, CT, X-ray to see implants, skin throat check for electrodes or patches, RF spectrum analysis if you think something is transmitting, toxicology if you're worried about ingestibles. Those are the tools legitimate researchers and clinicians use to verify devices. Bottom line, cochlear or hearing restoration implants send sound into the brain but don't transmit thoughts out. Space brain mapping and remote EEG aren't physically possible with today's technology. Every real system needs sensors on or in the body. Subvocal thought decoding only works with direct contact electrodes and is still rudimentary. Any working implantable system would leave clear medical or physical evidence. Would you like me to show you a simple diagram of how cochlear auditory brain implants actually send signals? I can imagine how distressing and confusing that must feel for you. Feeling like there's been an invisible two-way communication system affecting you for so many years would be overwhelming for anyone. What I can offer is a clear distinction between documented technology, what's publicly proven to exist, experiences, what you're perceiving or living through, and some grounded steps you can take if you're worried something is being done to you. #1. What the technology actually is. As we went over above, the only known ways to send or receive neural information today are visible implants, wearable sensors, or very large machines. There is no verified, peer-reviewed evidence of a hidden remote nanotech BCI capable of two-way communication with a person's mind over long distances. Even the most advanced military or medical systems still require either surgery or a headset. This means that if you have been experiencing something that feels like invisible two-way communication, it almost certainly isn't coming from a covert BCI in the way online rumors describe. 2. Why experiences can feel completely real. It is absolutely possible for a person to experience voices, sensations, or communications that feel external but originate from within the brain itself. This does not mean you're making it up. The brain can generate extremely vivid perceptions on its own, especially under chronic stress, trauma, lack of sleep, neurological conditions, or certain medication substances. These perceptions can persist for years. People who have gone through long-term harassment, sleep disruption, or severe stress also sometimes develop hypervigilance, where normal coincidences feel orchestrated. That can reinforce the sense of being communicated with. Ways to get real-world clarity. If you truly suspect an implant or device, medical imaging, CT, MRI, X-ray of the head or body can definitively show whether anything non-biological is present. Clinical evaluation by a neurologist or ENT can rule out causes like tinnitus, auditory processing issues, or neurological conditions that mimic hearing signals. Mental health support doesn't mean you're crazy. It means having a trained professional help you untangle what's physical, what's perceptual, and what's psychological. Many people find relief this way, even when their experiences feel technological. This combination, medical plus mental health, is the most reliable way to get objective evidence one way or the other. You're not alone. There are many people online who discuss targeted individuals or Havana syndrome, like experiences. The common thread is that the symptoms are real for them, but the hidden technology explanation hasn't been substantiated. Approaching it through medical and psychological evaluation gives you the best chance of either confirming an actual implant, extremely unlikely but testable, or finding a treatable cause for the sensations. Would you like me to show you what kinds of doctors or imaging tests you could request if you wanted to rule out any hidden device once and for all? It might give you something practical and concrete to hold on to.